This is how I've become a seven-figure net worth property investor, and now my clients have either replaced their income or created a legacy portfolio within 5 years using the exact same system and formula that I've used to make 5 grand per month net monthly income. And that's without making costly mistakes which cost time, money, and stress along the way. So let's get into it. So with everything, there's a step-by-step process to this. So how do you get to 5 grand a month net income through building a portfolio? How do you create a portfolio for your kids and replace that income? So start with the end in mind is the most important, because it's all well and good seeing where you are now. What's more important is seeing what position you are now can get you in the long run, and what the vision is, basically what the goal is, so you can then work backwards from that, which feeds me on to goal setting. So once you know your goal, once you know what the ending is, then you can actually set goals that can achieve that. Why South Wales is perfect for buy-to-let portfolio building, which is exactly what we do. Buy-to-let's interest rates is obviously vital as well. So obviously buy-to-lets, why they work so well, why they're a long-term strategy as well as anything, and also interest rates, why they are important but also not overly important. And taxes. So something that people forget about a lot is taxes. So building a portfolio in a tax efficient manner is vital. Investing from a distance is huge because our service that we provide is fully remote. So everything that we do is fully remote for every client. So I would say most of our clients are London or South of England based. So where property prices are about 400k plus. We also have international clients who obviously are outside the UK, whether that's America, Asia, Netherlands, all sorts. So investing from a distance with confidence is essential, and we provide a full end-to-end service with this. So let's feed into it. This is actually a project of my own. In South Wales, it's a 3-bed terrace property that I've bought for around about £85,000. Going to be renovating it, going to be refinancing it in X amount of time. It's the exact same projects that I build for my own portfolio, as well as I help other people build for theirs that we help them with. And as you can see, every project we secure with about 25 grand's worth of equity. Equity is basically the money that you're securing from day one, that when you come to refinance, you can pull out. And the 215 net is, again, net is the most important word there. So after paying management fees, maintenance fees, paying interest rates every month, at the end of the month, what is the net cash flow figure you're going to get in the bank after paying all expenses? That's the most important one when it comes to property. So that's that. And that's basically what that feeds into. So let's continue. So who am I? So my name is Ryan Eastleigh. I'm the managing director of Eastleigh Estates and Property Investments Limited. Even though I look 12 years old, I've been investing in property for just under a decade now, believe it or not. I used to be an electrical engineer. I was that for about 7 years, did an apprenticeship, and then I got into property through the electrics because I realized I didn't want to do electrics my whole life, and realized that I wanted to do something more, and property became almost like an inevitable option for that, which is good. I am based in South Wales where I invest, so I build my portfolio where I live, within about an hour of where I live, and I help other people do the same location. So I live very close to the location that we operate in with this. I've always wanted to get into property and have financial freedom. To me, if I can look after my family, if I can build a portfolio for myself, financial freedom, which I already have, and as well as helping other people invest themselves to build a service off that, that's my golden situation, and that's exactly what I have built over the past 5 to 10 years. So my portfolio is over this now, but it's I did have a portfolio worth about 1.1 mil. And I'm currently buying, as of this date right now, in August 2025. I currently have about 4 properties in legal, so I'm currently buying about £500-600 worth, 500-600 grand's worth of property in addition this year alone. The purpose of me saying that is not to boast or brag; it's purely on the aspect of showing you how much we're scaling, to show you this is the formula that we use to aggressively build because we believe in it so much. And due to supply and demand issues in the UK housing market, it's an absolute no-brainer to get into this now, so that when supply and demand gets worse, those properties that you own, that we own, that we're buying, that we're helping other people own, will just appreciate in the long run. And over time, I work with over 100 people a year building their portfolios. So inevitably, we've helped source over 10 million pounds worth of property easily. It's way more than that now, but it really accumulates quickly because we do probably about 6 to 8 new projects a month, whether for ourselves or for clients. So that really compounds inevitably. Again, not to brag, but just to give context for you guys. Who's this for anyway? Who's this video for and who's this relate to? So this is for you if either you work a 9 to 5 job that you want to basically get away from so you can build a portfolio to replace your income, or a lot of our clients do tend to be business owners who live in London, who live in like Bournemouth or Poole or south of England or places where it's more expensive, even Bath and Bristol, very, very common for us. So business owners who have a healthy supply, a healthy income, shall I say, salary supply. Don't know why I said supply. So a healthy income. They want to invest it, but they invest it well and not look for short fixes, not look for short, high risk fixes that are going to replace everything straight away, hopefully. They want to not put all their eggs in one basket. They want to build a portfolio that's going to build a legacy for them that they can eventually pass on to their children and create them wealth. So if you've got a portfolio of 10, 20, 30 properties of buy-to-lets, you've got a low risk strategy that's accumulated and compounded that you can then pass over to your kids in 5, 10, 15 years when they're older and more mature about it, and financially mature, of course. And that's a true win-win. You're literally giving your kids a very, very healthy pension, as well as creating their wealth for them. And in the short run, you're also creating yourself cash flow that's going to help you for the next 5, 10 years as well. So it's a complete win-win, which is why we do what we do. And you've always wanted to get into property, but you don't have the time, knowledge, or experience to do so. And also, you're just too damn busy. When I say time, you're just too busy. You're working 8 hours a week or whatnot, weekends as well. The whole purpose of this existing is so it's in the background. You're investing, building a portfolio, but you're not having to find a property, do the renovation work. You're not having a headache of doing X, Y, and Z. It's all fully leveraging us to manage it for you, X, Y, and Z. You have at least 80 grand of capital available. I would say realistically, 80 grand is the bare minimum. To be bluntly honest about it, I would say if you've got at least 150 grand, it works better. And I'll share with you shortly why that comment is relevant. But yeah, if you've got at least 150 grand, then that's ideal. But 80 grand still works. So if you've got 80 grand or more, this fits your model. But I'll feed into why 150 grand more makes more sense. And more importantly, you're ready to take action on this. You want to get into property, you want to get the benefits from this, but you're not letting fear hold you back. I know a lot of people who reach out who are like, oh, I'm tempted to do this, but I'm not sure. Like a lot of people kind of talk themselves out of things and then in 6, 12, 18 months come back to us saying, oh, I wish I had, because they can see us building, they see clients building, and they regret it. So FOMO is a big thing with us, which we don't even control, because at the end of the day, they see the results that we're doing through our social media. Check out our other channels. On our YouTube, we document everything as well, so you can see the projects that we're actually doing, literally, and we meet clients there, and they realize later on they should have taken action. So this is only for people who are ready to take action with stuff, who are going to get the benefits of it, who are going to aggressively attack this. That's the best way to do this. So yeah, like I said, you want to get the 9 to 5, or you want to build a portfolio for your children and reduce your working hours as a business owner. You want to build a passive income alongside what you currently do through property, spend more time with family and loved ones. You want to build generational wealth for your children and children again. So build a legacy portfolio, build it for them, long-term, happy days. And yeah, you want to earn an extra 5 grand every month, at least in the minimum next 5 years. The old way of investing, especially in property, used to be pay off your mortgage, save for years, buy buy-to-let, buy residential, focus on paying off that mortgage and go debt free. But then you're kind of stuck, because then you've got a job or business, you got no mortgage on your residential, but then what? Like where do you go from there? You're kind of stuck in the middle a little bit. Yes, you've got no debt, but you're not really, you're reducing your costs rather than increasing your income. And the smartest people I know who are financially free focus way more on producing more income than anything. So the new way is use debt to build wealth, use good debt to build wealth. Good debt is asset based, meaning that it actually creates cash flow and actually makes you money. So good debt actually makes you money, whereas bad debt takes away your money. have a long-term vision, and you want to build a substantial portfolio to create that wealth. Realize that property prices historically double every 10 years. It's not set in stone. You don't Property prices don't always historically double every 10 years. But if you look at the history of property, the trend is there. The trend is there that property prices do gradually increase over that period. And to say they double depends on location, because in some areas they go more than double, in some less than double, because some areas appreciate more, some appreciate less. There's certain variables there, but long story short, property prices grow and increase in the long run. That is the fact. Supply and demand will always outweigh this. It's very biased because it's factual, because supply and demand, if there's only so many houses and there's more people, naturally there's more demand there, which drives house prices up. It's a natural law of economics, and it's the most important thing for this conversation. So you're basically using good debt to increase your wealth and using supply and demand to your benefit. And having a portfolio that's large enough that's going to compound, to really compound the appreciation. So when I say appreciation, I mean the house price is appreciating in value, going up because of supply and demand, they go up. If you've got a portfolio that's appreciating, you're going to have 10, 20 properties appreciating, which is going to compound. So instead of getting 10% on 25 grand of equity, you've got 10% of appreciation on £250,000 of equity, and it really grows the more you scale this, as well as your actual cash flow. That's why we love buy-to-lets. So yeah, you're using leverage to advantage. And this is also showing you, actually, if you compounded 10%, so if you make each one of our projects earns at least 10% per annum, if not 20% per annum return on investment. So if you had a considered 10% per annum compounded, so if you start with 100k and compounded that, you can see within 40 years how it goes from a little to a lot. Long story short, you can see the compound effect of the interest go up without getting boring you too much. Why now is the best time to get into property? So again, this is supply and demand at the end of the day. You can go for all these other metrics, X, Y, and Z, but supply and demand is the main thing. So property prices historically double every 10 years. So if you don't have the property portfolio to begin with, you're not going to reap the benefits of having the growth. At the end of the day, you have to own the asset to get the appreciation. That's the fact of it. So investing in the right locations, investing in the right sort of properties, in the right sort of, and having the same, like if you're renovating a property, having the right exit, so you're creating longevity there, create those 3 boxes. And we feed into more the metrics of those later on in the video, but create those 3 boxes, and it's a very positive situation that you can just set and forget, rent the property out, let it appreciate, yada, yada, yada. But you have to own the property to get the benefits of the appreciation. So as you can see, house prices in the UK over however many years here have gone up crazy. Property prices in 1967 used to be peanuts, and now I think it's about 280, if not 300k. Probably about 280, I'd say, because this is a little bit out of date now by about 4 years. So you can see how much it's grown exponentially. So yeah, property prices increasing, and therefore there being a national housing shortage. Supply cannot keep up with demand, simple as that. So property prices will always go up in the long run. The inevitable conclusion is that house prices will simply become unaffordable. They will genuinely become unaffordable because property will just keep going up. But unfortunately, that is just how it is. And this goes for residential and buy-to-lets, by the way. But let's keep on just investments for this conversation, for this video. Yeah, as property prices go up, you get the benefits of it. You get your equity grows and your portfolio grows at the same time. This goes for rental side as well. So this comes from, obviously, I'm talking about appreciation in terms of the appreciating of the actual asset here. But the reality is that rents go up at the same time. If you've got a supply and demand issue there, this goes for the property price and the rental side. So your yield, if your rental side increases, so does your actual yield. So there's your actual cash flow that you earn every single month, if that makes sense. So the only way to benefit from these 2 points is to invest today and hold on to the asset. And these are 2 random examples we picked out of our actual projects. You can see in March 2008 is worth 82 grand, and then 2008 1229, and then 2000. Basically, you can see how much these properties are increasing by. So if you owned a property in South Wales in 2008, despite the crash, let's say 2009, for example, and you've held on to it for 15 odd years, you're going to make 50 grand from doing nothing. You're going to have the cash flow of 15 grand worth of cash flow for that period, plus the equity and appreciation over that period as well. So it's a very good position to be in. Same as over here. So on the right hand side, if you owned a property in 2016 and did no work on it, you would have had in 5, 6, 7 years, literally 40 grand of equity increase from appreciation would have gone up 35% in value, plus the cash flow on top. That's a good position to be in. So what does property price increasing mean for you right now? Take advantage of it. You have to own a property to take advantage. Like I said, experienced investors are moving away from cities and they're moving into South Wales towns. So in South Wales, you've got Cardiff and Newport, which are kind of hotspots for us because they're main city centres. We invest just above those. So you're not in a city, you're just in towns. Again, when you're booking a call, you can kind of go through all this with you and that sort of thing in terms of exact areas. But long story short, we don't stick to the city centres because they're so expensive. We stick to towns that are 20 to 30 minutes away from cities, so that you've still got the high cash flow, but the property prices are so much lower that it's more affordable to get into it. So I hope that makes sense. So the core concept here is effectively to obtain wealth is to invest it. So if you've got a pot of cash there and you want to have the outcome of working less hours or the outcome of building a portfolio, you've got to invest it. And this could literally mean stock shares or whatever. Property is just one of the lowest risk and most, I would say, predictable investments you can do. Because if you want to have peace of mind, put your money into something that is historically going to double every 10 years or roughly double every 10 years, and it's going to cash flow to create passive income that's very leveraged, that creates good debt, it's a no-brainer. You can do stocks, shares, and crypto, and your money could go like this and then go like this. With property, it's not linear. It's going to be like this, but in the long run, it almost always go up because of supply and demand. So you've got to make your money work harder for you. That's the black and white of that. And property is a long-term investment, guys. This feeds on to the whole interest rate conversation later on, but property is a long-term investment and it's meant to be seen that way. Don't look for short fixes with it. Work with good people and have a long-term mindset of property, and I can guarantee you will benefit. And yeah, you can literally use the wealth created, the equity and cash flow to literally get your job, create generational wealth, and paying for your expensive healthcare for families and wealth. Bit of a random one, but I've had a lot of people reach out saying they want to get like private healthcare because the NHS isn't serving them, which absolutely does make sense. So begin with the end in mind, guys. The reason that this is absolutely vital is that you don't want to get into property and be blind to it. You don't want to get into property and be unsure what you're getting yourself into. You want to make sure that when you're getting yourself in, you've got a goal, so you know what you're achieving, so that when you've got like a 5-year plan here, you can then work backwards. That's the best way to look at this. So begin with the end in mind, work backwards. We create a 5-year plan with every client. The reason being that we know exactly where they stand now, capital-wise, timescale-wise, situationally, so that we can then plan ahead to work backwards, so that we know every year, as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how much net income after that year they're going to have, how much equity they're going to have, and what sort of portfolio they're going to have, so that you know by the end of year 5, you know year 1, year 2, year 3 went to plan, year 4 went to plan, and then year 5, you've got X income, X result, X equity, and it's more structured, so that we can hold your hand, and also we know on our side when we're helping you at what stage you're at. So working backwards from the goal is absolutely important, so we can work backwards, plan it year by year. Even every 6 months we could plan it to make sure we're proactive. The way that we do this is that we have the goal with you, and then we jump on the call with you every month anyway, so that we can relate back to the plan, so that we know we're on track for X, Y, and Z. So if you want to make £5 grand net per month cash flow, this is how you can structure it. So year 1, the way you build this is you do 2 buy-to-lets straight away. So buy, renovate, refinance property straight away. So you're buying something run down, you're renovating it to force the appreciation up, and then get a refinance at the increased value. If you want to book in a call to go through exactly how this model works, that we can do that. We can jump on the course absolutely fine. But it's the most effective way of recycling your capital. This whole model of 5 grand, this particular plan of 5 grand per month net income is based upon around about a 200 grand starting pot. Um, and yeah, so it's based upon about 200 grand starting pot and a top up to that pot of around about 40 grand. So if you've got 240 grand, you can easily start this exact model to make 5 grand per month net within 5 years. And realistically, you talk about 500 grand's worth of equity as well on the back end. And I'll feed into how that works shortly. So yeah, with the 200 grand, you're investing in two BR to buy to lets. So buy something run down, renovate them, refinance them, and then be good to go for the next one. So the money you're investing, renovating, and then refinancing to pull back out, you're then investing into another project. Again, we're funding it for you, go from there. So you're doing two simultaneously, and each project will take 6 months. So you're buying something for 2 months, renovating for let's say 3 months, and then refinancing. So each project should take around about 6 months. So over the course of the year, you can do four because you're doing two at the same time. They renovate, refinance, and then you're doing another two. So over the end of the year, you've got four buy-to-lets. It's the same model through the year because each buy-to-let you can make about £250 per calendar month net income. So after getting four of them at the end of the year, you can have about £1,000. So start the year with 200 grand, invest them to recycle the capital, and at the end of the actual year, you're going to have four buy-to-lets, cash flowing about £1,000 nets per month, if not a bit more, depending on interest rates, and the equity on top of it. So that's great. And then you're going to rinse, repeat this same model again and again. So every single year, you're going to start with 200 grand. The reason for the 40k top up each year is because each project you're going to leave about 10, 15k left in. So over the four properties, you're going to be needing about 40 to 50k to top back up the pot. So you're always back to 200 grand. This is how you can effectively invest this. So yeah, literally you invest this aggressively. You're doing X amount of income. It builds, it builds, it builds. And you're doing the same thing. All these exactly the same. Doing two BRs, and then having four at the end of the year. Inevitably get to 5 grand. The reason being is that that's about 20 buy-to-lets, and that's increased significantly over that period. So again, start with the end in mind. Increase your pot. Sorry, start with the end in mind. Start with a pot of capital. Get it invested. Get two simultaneously with the pot you have, depending on how much capital you have, and then go from there. You don't need to quit your job to make this possible. This is why we exist. We do all this in the background for you, and I wouldn't take this too seriously only at this stage because this is for context. The best way to look at that plan is to sit down with us and have a call about what your position is and how you relate to that to see if it connects with you, to see if it actually relates to you. Because we make bespoke plans for every client. We don't sit there and say, oh yeah, this model fits you perfectly, happy days. It's what's your situation, what's your goal, and how can we make it bespoke to you for your benefit? That's the better way to play this. So Ian here, for example, this is one of our bespoke clients. He's from Cornwall. Really nice guy. He's got a trades business and very switched on. He's basically trying to build a portfolio for his family. So he owns a limited company, which I'll feed into shortly, for his company, for his family. His family owns the company, etc. And yeah, he just wants to build it to pass on to his son, literally. So that's really cool. And then the good thing about Ian is that I've met him once. I met him once at the property that one of the first properties we did for him. But he's never had to visit. He just wanted to say hello, to meet myself, to meet the build team. But the good thing is he had a fair understanding of property. Like he's owned one buy-to-let before. He's got his own residential property, etc. The reason for him reaching out to us originally was because he'd bought a buy-to-let in, I think, Plymouth or something down where he was. And it just went wrong. Like it just was a headache for him. It was too much time invested, and it just wasn't the way he wanted to do property. He wanted to get into property, invest his money into something that's reliable and low stress, and not have the stresses of doing so. Because then you've got builders to deal with, you've got additional problems to deal with, etc., etc. He just wanted to have a team that could crack on and do the work for him, and he just makes money off it, quite simply. And that's why he reached out to us. So that's exactly what we've done. We're on the second project so far. He wants to, again, he's got the goal of getting 5 grand per month after 5 years, and we're well on track for that. And yeah, he didn't have the time to do all this, and he didn't have the expertise to do it either. He had some contacts, but he didn't really want to have the hassle of doing that. He just wanted someone in the background that could kind of deal with all this. So yeah, like I said, he wants to build a portfolio of 20 hours in the next 5 years so that he can reduce his working hours, because he works about 80, 90 hours a week because he runs his own business, and he's trying to squeeze family time into it because he's got a young son he wants to spend time with. That's one of our biggest niches, and that's the sort of person we can help. So yeah, he's definitely a good egg. So goal setting, interesting topic. So it's always important to be very realistic, not optimistic, not pessimistic, but realistic when setting goals. Because one of the biggest benefits of us existing is that we've got experience. We know what's realistic when you've got X amount of capital and X amount of goal situation. What is realistic in terms of what can this achieve you? How far can your money work for you? How much harder can it work for you in a way that is low risk and actually realistic? So the ideal focus is to find properties that fit within your long-term goals, and that's what because that's what you need, right? The goal is to have X outcome, let's say. So our own portfolio, we track it every 6 to 12 months. Like I said, I buy at least 4 properties a year myself. And so I sit down with it every 6 months and plan it, and I do the exact same for every single client. I sit down with them because I do for clients exactly what I do for my own portfolio. That's how we've built it, because I literally do the exact same thing. um, and one thing I would say, a lot of people reach out to us saying, "Oh, I've tried HMOs and commercial conversions and SA and all these other potentially higher income strategies with property." Every strategy works. Every strategy works. I've done this for nearly a decade now, and every strategy works. The most important element to remember is that they work for different reasons. So, for example, if you've got SA, you've got pros and cons that are different to commercial and HMO. The reason that we nail buy-to-lets with this is that their supply and demand is always going to be there. There's always going to be a need for housing, and there's always going to be prices going up against supply and demand. So it's one of the ones that's going to outlast everything, because commercial died a little bit during COVID, HMOs, COVID, SA COVID. So it's like COVID isn't the only issue here, but it's also the economy, all those bits and bobs. Buy to let will always be around. So from a long term point of view, when you apply common sense to this, it's the most sensible way of looking at this, whilst also making a healthy return on investment, which is why we do it. So that's why we love buy-to-lets, low risk, high scale, and compounding income. Because if you had a portfolio of 10 properties or 20 properties and you had one or two issues with one of them, the compounding cash flow and income and equity from the rest of the portfolio would completely outweigh the issues on those two. That's why it's important to invest in the right locations and actually have a nice property. And that's why location is vital, because the location and the letting agent will dictate a lot of your headache and stress moving forward. Different conversation. So this is one of our latest purchases. Outside of it, just a little selfie to show you. Like I said, we check in on our own investment journey every 6 months or so, just to make sure we're all happy with it. Because we set realistic goals. We don't sit there and tell ourselves we're going to hit X, Y, and Z. The worst you can do is sit there and say, I want X, so therefore I'm going to achieve X. It's a case of, I want X, what's realistic with this? What does this strategy like buy-to-let get you? So that when it comes to actually the refinances, the letting, when it comes to actually looking at the bank at the end of the month after 5 years, what are the actual figures in your bank? That's why being realistic with expectations and working with someone like us who knows the numbers inside out and the areas and all that and the strategy. That's why it's so important, because then you're not disappointed and you haven't been overly conservative as well. Because some people let fear get in the way and they get super conservative and they talk themselves out of it and never take action. You've got to be in the middle. In my opinion, anyway. That's just my opinion. So don't let fear hold you back, but also work with someone who knows what they're doing to give you realistic advice. So why is South Wales the ideal location? In London, property prices, they used to be 500 grand about X amount of time, probably about 600 grand now minimum. You can buy a property of $500,000, have a rentum of 200 grand, 2 grand a month, 4.8% yield, which means you can have negative net cash flow, and it just doesn't make sense to be a buy-to-let. London is the worst place in the world to get buy-to-let, same as probably Bournemouth or anywhere expensive where property prices are over like 400-500k. Even Bristol now, same conversation, it's incredibly expensive. But the rental can only go so high. People who rent only want to rent for X amount, because if you can afford 2.5 grand per month rental, chances are you've probably got a healthy enough income to end up buying anyway. So therefore, there's a cap on how much rental gross is going to be really in any area. Just applying common sense to it. So if you had a starting capital of 200 grand, you could buy one single property as a buy to let with a mortgage on it, and that's your money tied into it, no cash flow, equity in it, great, but then it's just a poor investment because you've got bad debt. Then you've put all 200 grand into something that's losing you money every month, and that's that. You're stuck in the mud. So yield is an indication of cash flow, and the yield on London is just minimal to non-existent. In South Wales, you can get a run property like this one for 60 grand, carry out a full renovation of like 35 grand, renovate it to increase the value to, let's say, for example, 130, which is exactly what this one was, 130 grand, pull the money back out again, when basically what you're doing is you're buying for 60, doing renovation for like 35 grand, increase the value of the property to about 130. When it's worth 130, you get a 75% loan to value mortgage on it, which means you pull out X amount of money, which means you're probably leaving in only 10, 15 grand on these properties. So that's the way this model works. You're literally forcing appreciation up, renovating it, refinancing, pulling money back out, and then having a lovely renovated property in the back end with a mortgage on, and you've got most of your money in your back pocket again. This is why it's such an effective model. So the yield on these is over 9%, so cash is much higher. They actually put money in your back pocket every single month after all expenses, after paying your management, maintenance, and void periods, and insurance. And yeah, this one had £800 per calendar month, so again, very, very good yield. The beauty of investing in South Wales, you can expect high yield. The starting capital of 130, if not more, you can start investing, and you can really build a 7-figure portfolio by doing that aggressively. Again, if you want to find out how much capital you need to get involved with this, book in a call with us, because then we can be bespoke to you in terms of like financially where are you, and then how far can that get you, and also how much can you save along the way. With other areas of the UK becoming much more expensive, it's becoming a no-brainer to go in South Wales. It really is. And also, the areas that we invested in South Wales are close to Cardiff and Newport. So you've got the benefit of the Cardiff and Newport prices going up so much that it means that the actual people who can't afford those prices anymore coming over to the valleys where we operate in South Wales, which is like 30 minutes above South Wales, which is further increasing the demand, which then further increases the actual prices. So there's always a knock-on effect from these city centres that we operate in that are increasing the demand and therefore prices. So again, rental and appreciation. So Tom, another client from Cornwall, funny enough, really nice lad, lives in Cornwall, very expensive down there, same as Ian in a way. We don't just do Cornwall, we've got clients from all over the place, but these are just two examples. So yeah, Tom, he wanted to build a portfolio, still does, and he reached out to us about in 2023. He only had enough capital to do one project at a time, so he's only on his second and third project now. But it's basically he's doing about one every year, but same principle. So it's much more slow grower because of the lack of capital, but it's still he's taking action. He's going to get the benefits. He's getting the rental income, yada yada yada, and he's got the equity. And yeah, we've built the portfolio for him. He hasn't had to come out. He's come out a couple of times, but we've made it so he doesn't have to. This has meant he could allow us to find a property for him, deal with the solicitors, brokers, builders, and mortgage brokers, and management company for him. And yeah, we're going to be managing the property once it's letted to a tenant, and he just wants to keep scaling, pretty much. So this is a very important one. So buy to let and interest rates. Making an investment is about making money while reducing risk, right? So this is what's critical, particularly if you're new to property investing, that you want to build your foundations first. So what I mean by that is get your foundational portfolio built first. If you think of a pyramid, you've got level 1, low risk, medium risk, and high risk. The reason that you want to do buy to lets is because they're the lowest risk, because you've got one tenant, you've got one property, you've got the least hassle to deal with. Build your foundational portfolio first with your buy to lets, get it cash flow and get it built. Then later on, when you've got 10, 15 buy to lets and you've got cash flow in business and a cash flow portfolio that's got equity in it, and you've got the security of that being self-sufficient, then move on to SAs and HMOs and all this if you want to. But the amount of risk and the amount of headache that those other strategies provide, it's important to just do buy-to-lets first, regardless of how aggressively you want to get into property, because otherwise you're going to have an absolute headache dealing with all these other strategies, and it's not going to be worth it. I hear this all the time. People want to get into other things, and it's just never worth it. So, yeah, buy-to-let property is the foundation of any portfolio, and it's the one that I highly recommend, having done this for years, that you build first and scale it to at least a minimum of 10 properties, and then look at other property investments. Don't just try to go for these other golden numbers that people try to sell you on courses. Anyway, a buy-to-let property is a property that's been bought by landlords and rented out to a single tenant. Again, you're buying to let to a single tenant. They'll always be the bread and butter investments. They'll be your foundational portfolio, the lowest risk, and require the lowest amount of maintenance, because you can have a letting agent deal with the maintenance of it. If there's something significant that goes wrong with the property, then it's obviously a different conversation. But in general, so long as you have a good quality house that is structurally sound, fully renovated, in good condition, in a good location, the letting agent should deal with most things. And yeah, having a good letting agent deal with tenants is also good look after that. And deal with the maintenance. This is why we always ensure clients build up a portfolio plan with buy-to-let, and then let's guide them. You can also, like, if you had a £2,500 target with this per month, i.e. replace the average wage, you could easily do that within about 10 buy-to-lets. Very, very simple, because if you're making £250 off one single let net per month, you times that by 10, and then you get £2,500 naturally. So £250 for one, get 10 of them, you got £2,500. That's net. That's after paying your mortgage, paying your maintenance, and all that kind of stuff. That's net income per month. So you just replace your income through a whole portfolio, or leveled it. You could literally do this alongside working and double your income. So someone else could reduce their working hours. So it's very, very important to check out these when looking for property investments. 3 top tips. So whenever we're doing this, the reason that people come to us, one of the biggest reasons, is that we know the area. So I live in South Wales. South Wales is a hotspot, and it's where I've been investing all my life. I've only ever invested in South Wales. The reason being that we know the local crime rates, we know the local tenant demographic, and where the certain tenants like to be in order to get maximum rents, and the flooding risk. These are 3 things that people often forget. So flood risk, it's the UK, it's Wales, it rains, it's normal. So making sure that you're not going to be on Christmas Day sitting there with a flooded property is vital. So yeah, really important that just to make sure everyone's sweet with that. So yeah, making sure you've got those boxes ticked is vital, guys, and that's what we do as part of our service, to make sure those boxes are ticked. Interest rates is a huge conversation here, because everyone gets scared away by interest rates. They think, oh, I'll wait for the rates to change, or I'll wait for all this. Interest rates are a short-term factor. They're a factor to consider, but they should never be the sole reason for not or for investing into property. The reason being that you could have one day 5%, one day 4.5%, the next day 4%. It fluctuates so much. I guarantee if you went to buy a property tomorrow, by the time you actually come to own the property in 3 months' time, interest rates would have changed about 5, 6, 7, 20 times, right? You're investing in property for the long term. So long as your interest rate of, let's say, roughly about 5% makes the cash flow and equity that you need for the long run, that should be the only real metric. So long as the stress tests work from a lendability point of view, which is again for the mortgage broker, so long as based upon a 5% rate, your property cash flows well or healthily enough to hit the 250 mark, that's good enough. Because then if it goes above that, you wouldn't expect interest rates to be over 6% for long. That's not a healthy economic position to be in. You wouldn't expect it to be at 2% when it was during COVID, because it won't stay there forever. So having a realistic medium mindset with interest rates is vital, but even more importantly, having a long-term mindset with it is vital. So don't let interest rates be your whole factor. I see a lot of people be like, oh, I'll just wait for it to come down and whatnot, but there's no benefit. You're just talking yourself out of it for something that's a short-term metric over a long-term investment. It doesn't make sense. That's my one recommendation, guys. So you can see how much it fluctuates over the years. Key points: interest rates are a short-term metric. Interest rates should not be the main reason for or not investing into something, particularly property. And property investing is a long-term investment vehicle. It's important to see it that way. Typically, when interest rates are high, then property is cheap to buy. When interest rates are low, property is more expensive. It's a market, it goes up and down. Take advantage of things, but don't let it deter you from taking action, is what I'm saying. It's a very normal and really clear example of, yeah, if you're waiting to buy a property because there's a big discount or yada yada yada, you can be talking yourself out of things. So just be careful with that to miss big opportunities. This is literally my first ever buy to let. Here's one of my first ever properties I bought. I actually got this on a 2% interest rate during, well, before COVID actually, but got very fortunate with that. I was buying property before then, but this is one of the after first buy to lets. And I thought I hit gold because I was on a 2% interest rate. And now I'm going to be refinancing very, very soon. It's going up to 5%. And now I'm realizing, okay, well, I was a bit naive at the start, thinking, oh, I'm basing this on the whole interest rate thing. Because I made this mistake myself, guys. This is why I'm so emphasizing this so much, because I base my mindset off a low interest rate. But the reality is 5% is where, or 4.5%, 5% are where things should be. And then it's still going to cash flow, but it's nowhere near where it's going to be, where it was, sorry. So don't base it off interest rates, guys. I've been there, I've made that mistake and learned from my lessons. So as soon as I realized 2% was very, very low, yeah, I realized that, the cash flow would significantly reduce in terms of net profit, but that is what it is when I come to refinance it. And although on a positive, I got an asset that's worth over 200 grand, so I invested in a bit of a higher value area, where the yield's a bit lower, hence the whole interest rate issue. And that's that. So realizing that interest rates would be a factor to consider. Yeah, rent it out. Yeah, it's not really important, all that. So more story. Interest rates are not the sole reason for investing or not investing. Don't make my mistakes. So this is actually vital. So tax efficiency. So we don't like to hear it, but it's crucial to understand the plan ahead when it comes to taxes, because everyone hates paying taxes, right? Property is no different. The government loves taking your money, and that's as simple as that. Ensuring that you set up in a correctly at the start your property can save you thousands of tax. Working with professionals who can set up your limited company correctly is vital as well. And this is also a case of why we invest in limited companies over personal names, and why that may not be the best situation for you, and it also might definitely be the best situation for you. So let's get into it. I've been there and I've made tax mistakes myself. The reason I say that is my first buy to let I bought in my own personal name. You're seeing the trend here of my mistakes. Obviously, this is back in like 2015 or whatever. I was just beginning my property journey, again, buying out other buy to let and whatnot. I assumed the best way to invest was to buy my personal name, without knowing much about taxes, and I made that mistake. I was on again, standard 40% personal income tax because of my income. And the long story short, guys, to keep this short and sweet on taxes without boring you, is if you're buying into your personal, this isn't tax advice, mind, to clarify. If you're buying into your personal name and you're already on 40% tax, then your income is going to be, the profit that you make from the property is going to be based on the 40% tax, so you're going to be taxed 40%. Whereas if you're buying into a limited company, then I think the corporation tax is about 22-23% right now. So you're taxed halves. So literally, like you're going to be taxed 23% on your income of the profit portfolio of the profit from the portfolio, rather than the 40% in your personal name. So it's almost always better to invest in a limited company when doing this, especially if you want to build a significant portfolio. Because if you had a large portfolio in your personal name, that would probably take you over the threshold to put you in a high tax bracket anyway. Whereas if you buy into a limited company, then obviously, it's all going to be at the corporation tax value, which is set throughout at 23%, whatever. So it's a no-brainer, and it's half your tax cost. So, and by the way, if you don't know about limited companies or you don't know anything about them, definitely book on a call with us, because then we can we can kind of have a conversation with you to kind of help you, tell you how it works. And also we help set up limited companies as well as part of our service, where we can help set it up for you. Very, very simple way of doing it, and the bank account. We've got it all covered, guys. It's what we do. So it's really important to start with the end in mind, so that you know tax efficiently what you're doing. And whenever we have a new client come to us, one of our main priorities is setting up to be tax efficient, so that they've got the benefits of it. It's why fact finding with every client is so important. So we can fact find where they are now, what they want to do, and then find tax efficient ways and efficient ways of them investing, and then work backwards. You're seeing the trend here with planning. So that's that. So communication, investing from a distance with confidence. Now, I've set the whole business and company up on our side to be remote, meaning that every single client, we've never had to have a client coming up to a property ever. They have to meet us, they have to meet the build teams, but we've designed the whole business so that everything can be discussed by WhatsApp, everything can be discussed by email, and we use Google Meets for our meetings as well. So long story short, everything is fully remote with us, everything is internet based. Obviously, we're the men on the ground with the build team and project managers and everything doing the work and the sourcing team and whatnot. But the actual contact with every client is fully remote. So 90% of our clients we work with are live over 2 hours away, whether it's London, whether it's Bournemouth, etc., or whether it's Scotland, or it doesn't have to be London or Bournemouth, but that's where a lot of our clients come from, whether it's Cornwall or whatnot. Again, we've got clients in Asia, we've got clients in America, we've got clients in Netherlands, Germany. It doesn't really matter where in the world you work. We've got a lot in Dubai at the moment as well. Now I remember. So yeah, it really does open doors. So yeah, everything is communication based because everything is so remote, and a lot of people naturally have nerves because they're investing a lot of money from anywhere in the world and putting it into properties and dealing with us. What we do find is that the first property, because of communication, the first property is always nerve-wracking because they're putting this 200 grand into 2 projects and they get things going. And then once they've done those first 2 projects with us, once they got the refinances coming in to do the other 2, then it's like, okay, well, we know what you're doing. You know the team. They got confidence in the solicitors, builders, brokers, in us, and then they can just crack on to the next ones. It's very normal for there to be nerves at the start, and then go from there. So that's absolutely fine. This is why communication is important, and the monthly calls are important to make sure that everyone's in the loop, everyone's happy, and just shows respect, to be honest with you. So that's why we set weekly calls and monthly check-ins for every client. It's even more important that when we have renovations ongoing, that the investor can see basically see the updates. We have a WhatsApp group set up with every client and a refurb chat WhatsApp group set up so that the builders are in contact with the client as well. Most of the client, the investor, and us. So we're in every group chat, and it's all very, very transparent. So yeah, it just means that you can easily do your renovations without having to ever be there and talk to us if there's any questions there to highlight any solutions, because being solution oriented is everything for this. Key points: communication is everything. We literally provide a full end-to-end service on this. As I keep rambling on with, we do weekly check-ins as well with each client regarding every project we have with them. So we do a check-in with them and we do a monthly call with them. And just when there's issues, just be honest about it. Like I'd say most of my day is dealing with issues, which is absolutely part of the process. And the reality is, being honest with clients when there are issues is everything. So yeah, that's basically that. So for example, meet Jack. He's from London, and we've recently completed a purchase for him. Standard buy to let, one of our bread and butters on here, and he's pumped. He's a marathon runner. He's a really sound lad, and he's bought this property for 90k. Did a small work on it. He's got his he's got the 25 grand worth of equity. He's got his cash flow now rented out. Happy days. And like I said, because of his 250 per month net income, therefore it's 3 grand over the year. So it makes an additional 3 grand. He wants to go to the next one, keep building, keep accumulating, and he just wants to keep recycling his cash. The return investment for our properties is around about 20%. That's cash flow plus the recycling factor when you come to refinance. So very good investments these are. We have weekly calls every stage when renting out, and it kind of makes me proud when the client calls up and wants to go again, because it's the whole point of the service, but it's also like they're just like, okay, we've done it, we've got the rents out, we've got the cash flow, and they're just like, that's the whole point of it. But when they can see the results, that makes me happy. So that's why I made the business. So yeah. So now I've rambled on forever about us. Just to finish us off, the full end-to-end service. So when we're doing this for you, you can see the amount of work that's required. You can see what's going on. You can see that we know what we're talking about, because we literally do this every single day. That's why we've created the full end. We used to just source, but now we've realized that people need the full end to end. So whether it's company setup, whether it's the sourcing the property, whether it's marketing for your investment that fits your actual needs. So first of all, it's creating an investment plan, because before we do anything, it's a case of making sure that we can actually help you. And the investment plan is a reflection of that, to say, where are you? What can we realistically get you to? What's the tax efficient way of getting you there? And how can we break it down year upon year? And what income will you have afterwards so that you have your goal met? Then once we're all happy with that, we then source the property. So we market for the investment, fits your requirements and needs. Again, we have 7 different marketing channels. We have a whole team on this. We've got a team of 6 people on this within the team to really smash it out, who know what they're doing, to find the investment that fits the criteria, fits your budget, fits your location, and fits the criteria that's agreed at the beginning. And then once you've found it, we then actually present it to you. So we make sure location fits, the tenant demographic, the flood risk, the crime rates, and it's all ticked off. EPC as well, make sure the EPC is a C rating post renovation. All these basic requirements we tick off. We then present it to you. We have solicitors we work with as well. So we basically get it quoted, get the renovation works quoted, present it to you, make sure you're happy with it. And then if you're happy to proceed, we get a soliciting for you. So we organise you and our solicitor to connect to make sure that everyone's happy and we can get into legals, get it purchased, happy days. Once the solicitor's instructed, we then organise the build team to visit, to quote up for the works, create a WhatsApp refurb chat, so that's all connected, so that everyone, you got a renovation quote for the project, you've got the project into legals, we've got the 5-year plan, so we know we're on target, and then we have the monthly calls. And we control the conveyancing process, meaning that we check in with the solicitor every single week, because we know our solicitors incredibly well to make sure they're efficient. We manage the build team and project manager renovation. We have a WhatsApp group with the refurb to make sure we can check in with that every single week. I talk to our build team almost every day anyway, so it's kind of a natural thing, because there are problems every day and it's just the nature of the business. When I say problems, it's not as if like you got houses crumbling. It's a case of like, okay, it's just general things. It's just general like, okay, well, this is what's come up. How can we rectify it? A lot of this is us dealing with things in the background, so you don't have to, so that you don't have the headache of dealing with it. That's half the reason, because there will be problems, there will be costs going over, there will be things like that. It's nature of property. Nothing ever goes perfectly to plan ever. But mitigating that is what's important. Mitigating that with a team that's reliable, that communicates well, that deals with problems efficiently is half the thing here. And to be honest with you about those things. That's what you want. So that when you come to on the end of the project, you know that this team's actually true to their word and honest with stuff to go for the next one. So yeah, the entire renovation is organised by us, and we'll do everything with the WhatsApp group and go from there. And then as soon as the renovation's done, we'll also organise the letting agent to come out to take photos of the property, to advertise it, to vet tenants, to actually get it tenanted, get it cash flowing. We'll also organise for the refinance. So obviously you will have post renovation, you've got a tenant in there. We'll organise for the property to be valued by a lender to make sure that we can hit the GDV we actually need. The GDV is the value once renovated that we need. And then we will meet the value of the property as well. Basically get your refinance in to make sure that you've got the GV, basically the market value you need on the back end to actually recycle your capital. If you want to go into how the BR model works exactly like this, then we can go through that separately on a one-to-one call. But once you've got the valuation you need, then you get a refinance, and then we know on the back end how much capital you have to go for the next one. The question is, do you want to do all that yourself? This is how you can get to literally the $5,000 mark. Start with around about 200 grand, ideally, and then build it from there. Like I said, 80 grand also works for this, but it's a much smaller amount to work with, but we can have a conversation. The best thing to do here is, if this is of interest to you and this is what you want to do, and you want a reliable team to do this, to do all the work for you, book in a call to basically just have a call with us to literally find out where you are now financially and situationally. We can then say, okay, what we can and can't help with. Then once we've laid that out, we can then start making a 5-year planner. Once we're all happy with that, then we can start getting the ball rolling for you. The best way to book in a call is on the link for this video. This is obviously on a YouTube video. I'll put a link in the description to this video to our website to book in a call with us. So that's one way you can book in a call with us to go through this. If you're on our link for our service offer, then you'll have links on that page as well, on the landing page. So either way, book in a call with us, or find me on socials and direct message me, or comment on something, and I'll reach out to you. That's the best way to do this because I've got a link I send through where we can book in a call to our website. The website is the best place to book in a call with us, and then we go from there. Hope you found some value with this. Yeah, hope everyone has a great week. Ciao. Oh, and one thing I forgot the last stage on this. So, when we do this, actually, we don't take on more than, as you can see down here, we don't take on more than £6 a month. The reason we don't take on more than six a month is to make sure the standard of service is there, which is absolutely vital for us because we only work one to one. Like when we make the 5-year planner, when we kind of are marketing for clients, we only do it one to one. So it is a case of sitting down with someone to make sure we're a good fit and they go from there. It's not a case of, oh, I want to get into property, we'll onboard you straight away. It's genuinely a case of if you're a business owner, if you're a 9 to 5er and you want to spend more time with family, you got the capital there, you're ready to take action on it, you want to build a legacy portfolio, and you want a reliable person to do that, and you don't have the time and your expertise to do this, booking a call so we can go through that and diagnose exactly what that means and how we can play this out for you. And then we can see if we can make a slot for you. Again, it's not to push people away. It's generally more of a case of like quality of service is really important for us because we work one to one. We like to be like if a client needs anything straight away, we're jumping on it. Like genuine, like for us, that's number one, making sure that our clients are happy. To be honest with you, and we can only do that if we're really filtering through who we work with. Because again, I love working one to one with people, and everything goes through myself as well. So love that. As well as the team. The team's dealing with stuff as well as me. So yeah, be sure to book in a call if you want to have a call. I just thought I'd add on the fact that we only take on 6 a month maximum. And like I said, we do 6 new projects a month, so you can see how that ties in perfectly. So yeah, look forward to speaking to you all.